If you want to learn about an exciting new educational venture, stay tuned. Carolina People's coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. We're visiting with the president and general manager of Roche Carolina, Don Harriet. Don, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks for inviting me.
It's a great day. We're real excited about focusing not only on Roche, but also on, of course, the South Carolina State Chamber of Commerce, and then later on something that you've been instrumental with, the School Foundation. But I want to learn a little bit about yourself, and could you tell the viewers, are you a PD area native?
No, not originally. California. I grew up in California, spent a little time in Colorado, and I guess by the grace of God, I'm in the PD region now.
In the Carolinas.
In the Carolinas,
absolutely. How long have you been actually in Florence?
Florence, about 6 years. I moved here from Boulder, Colorado.
You moved straight from Boulder?
Right.
You say you grew up in California.
California is what I'd call my original home,
right.
and PD my second home.
Yes. That's wonderful. That's a great... And how long were you in Colorado?
Colorado, about 4 years.
Okay. Were you also with Roche at that time?
They have a plant out there as well. So,
when I think of Roche, is there any connection to Hoffman LaRoche?
That's our parent corporation.
Okay.
Hoffman LaRoche is, as you know, an international pharmaceutical company, and we have locations all around the world.
How long have you been with Roche?
I actually joined Roche through the acquisition of a California company called Syntex in 1994, so a little over 8 years.
When we think of Roche, or Roche as a pharmaceutical company, are there any particular products that viewers may be familiar with? Or
maybe number one would be Valium.
Valium, yes.
Yeah, which when people come to visit me at the plant, they ask if there's any free samples. But no, we were the original inventor of Valium. Today, some of our major products we're growing a very big cancer and oncology practice. We have several products in that area: MabThera, Xeloda, Kytrol. Now, most of the people wouldn't recognize those names unless they were unfortunate enough to have that disease or have family. But some of the other ones is Xenical, which is a weight reduction drug. If you ever get an infection, ask for Rocephin. It's the number one most powerful antibiotic, usually given in a hospital setting for pneumonia or major infections. Versed is also another hospital product, major anesthetic that people use.
When did Roche Carolina set up their operations here in the PD?
We began breaking ground in 1993, and we had a major construction project that lasted all the way till 99.
Till 99? So you actually opened doors in 99?
We started our first production in 96 in a small scale way, and then became fully operational in 99.
And when did you locate to Florence?
1996.
Okay, right. All the plant construction and the commitment that Roche has made to the Florence area, the greater PD, and really to the Carolinas. If we think of South Carolina as being impacted, but with I-95 and I-20, there's a heck of a lot of access, I'm sure, throughout the Carolinas and throughout the Southeast. Could you talk a little bit about the plant construction? And I know you said breaking ground in 93, concluded in 99.
Yeah, it was a major project. The plant itself represents a $600 million investment, so it's a huge investment. I claim, I'm not sure if this is right, it's the tallest building in Florence. Our largest manufacturing is about 180 feet high, 10 floors in that manufacturing area, 350,000 square feet. During our construction period, we employed over 13,000 different construction workers.
Is that right?
And peaked at about 2,200 per day. We had to have our own traffic police, directed traffic, getting people to and from the construction site.
Yes, very definitely. For viewers who may not be familiar with the location of Roche, if someone's on the Grand Strand or someone up in Robeson or Scotland County, if they wanted to drive by just to see the facility, even from the outside, the tallest potential structure in Florence County, where is Roche Carolina located?
Well, if you know the shortcut from 327 to the beach, that's the best way to find it. Where also there's on Highway 76, there you'll see the DuPont signs and Stone Container. If you went the opposite direction, we're about a half a mile down the road.
How many employees are currently located in Florence with Roche Carolina?
We employ about 350 employees. We don't have a lot of labor since we're highly automated. We're one of the most modern facilities in the Roche world, and we've invested heavily in automation.
And from where primarily do you recruit those folks?
have two types of employees. Our mission is the first thing that we do is when a drug's in the early experimental phase, we actually develop the manufacturing process. We take it from laboratory to large scale. And that's usually done by PhD levels. And those we recruit literally around the world. We have people from 7 different countries, Europe, Asia, Mexico, working in those areas. As far as the manufacturing workers and the support workers, those are local hires.
Great, great. Such a big commitment serving. You know, it's so amazing when you look at a facility like that, you know, $600 million invested by Roche, Hoffman LaRoche, the parent company, and you see a facility like that, and you think there must be thousands of employees in there. But as you said, highly automated as it is, there's still a gigantic commitment. 350 is a huge facility. I mean, an incredible number of folks sustaining that kind of presence in the PD is a major commitment.
And they're good quality jobs too. I think that's an important issue, is the quality jobs.
Absolutely. When you think of when you think of the area in particular, is there anything in particular about that location that makes it a particularly attractive location for Roche to?
Well, we spent a lot of time searching out the right site, and we're one of 7 plants in the world that make active ingredients. That's what we do, is to make the active ingredients. So location was about a 1.5-year search. We wanted a modern facility on the East Coast. We wanted it close to transportation. We wanted, obviously, a good place to do business, and that's what we found here in Florence.
And you're very close to the Eastern Agricultural Expo, which is, as you can hear in the background, we're here during Fair Week, and we can hear the kids and all the folks, the excitement of being out at a fair, and that many of them probably don't know how close they are to Roche, Carolina, but I'm sure at some point in their lives they will have an opportunity to drive by it. Experience. Do you ever give tours of the facility?
We do on a limited basis. We're a chemical manufacturing plant, so it's a hazardous environment, and so the tours are limited. But occasionally we'll give tours to various groups, school kids and things like that. We let tour our laboratories.
How do you rank your staff? I know that's kind of a funny question oftentimes, but as it relates to productivity and product development here, juxtaposed against other Roche facilities around the country, around the world.
Well, obviously, anybody who's in charge of the organization thinks he's got the best people in the world, and I certainly am one of those people. But I think I can back that up with a lot of other things. First of all, in the recruiting, we absolutely recruit the best and most talented people from this area. We recently opened up a training class and had over 800 qualified applicants for 18 positions. Golly. So you can think of the ones we selected really are talented people. We then take that talent and then go through a very formal process. It's an apprenticeship program, and which we gave them basic skills, knowledge, and aptitude on how to work in a pharmaceutical manufacturing plant. And that gets them to the first level of competency, and we actually have 7 other levels of competency. So the actual training of our employees takes place over a 5 to 7 year period before we have a fully competent. You won't find many manufacturing sites around the world, and certainly in the U.S., that make that kind of commitment to training talented people.
I'm sure. Don Harriet, President and General Manager of Roche, Carolina. Don, can you come back and spend a little more time with us, finish talking about Roche, Carolina, as well as the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce?
Would love to.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. And for those of you just joining, we're visiting with the President and General Manager of Roche, Carolina, who also happens to serve as the Chairman of the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce, Don Harriet. Don, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
We were talking about Roche, Carolina, and the commitment that Roche had made, not only to the PD, but really to the state of South Carolina and the Carolinas. The commitment spans such a large area, and I think a $600 million development took over 6 years. I think you said at its peak, you had 2,200 folks on site actually putting the plant together.
That's correct.
An amazing goal. The experience of taking over Roche, Carolina, coming in, probably helped as a very good segue into your new role as Chairman of the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. When did you become Chairman?
Last week.
Last week? Oh,
That's right.
Just in
last Tuesday, October 1st, was the official year or official start of the fiscal year for the chamber.
Okay, well that's great. Tell us a little bit about the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce. How does it interface with all local chambers? Does it serve a different role?
There is a network with the local chambers and other organizations. It's really the premier business organization to represent a wide variety of businesses across the state. Really, with the stated goal is to improve the business climate of all South Carolina businesses. We have about 2,200 members on a statewide basis.
Mm-hmm. Are there a number of committees within the chamber?
The chamber has a number of standing and active committees. They have a manufacturing committee, human resource committee, as you might expect. They have a legislative committee and several others.
Where's the chamber office located?
They're in downtown Columbia.
Okay, great. Easy to find.
Yeah, the old Affinity building. I think it's Southern Trust. I think it's called now.
What do you perceive as the most important functions of the chamber statewide?
Well, it's certainly maintaining the positive business climate. That's really why Roche selected South Carolina, as we view South Carolina as a good place to do business, one in which that we can prosper and other businesses can prosper, and that's what we hope this Chamber of Commerce does for other businesses.
Mm-hmm. Very definitely. And had the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce worked pretty hard to recruit Roche back in the early 90s? I'm sure they must have had a heck of a lot to do with it.
Sure. All major corporations, and it isn't just large corporations that are involved in that, but economic development is one of the key areas that the Chamber supports.
As chairman of the Chamber, what are some of your responsibilities and any items on the agenda that are going forward?
Well, basically, as chair, you're really responsible to make sure the business plan, we put together a business plan each year. Mm-hmm. So it's really that the business plan is executed and operated, and also any personal involvement in any major chamber agenda items. Personally, I have one agenda item, and that's trying to help all South Carolinians develop a vision of the future of what we want our state to look like 20 or 30 years from now in a very nonpartisan way.
That's a great commitment. Have you done anything in particular to execute that?
Well,
obviously, you've just taken over as chairman a little more than a week ago.
And on a personal vein, yeah, that's kind of my missionary zeal that I'm trying to get out there, and there are things that I'll personally be talking to legislators and hopefully the governor about that. I'm also a member of the Palmetto Institute. And that's a group that's expressed purpose is to raise the per capita income of all South Carolinians, and we're doing that through the long-term view.
I think I saw last week that Darla Moore, who's the chairman of the Palmetto Institute, or chairwoman, excuse me, that y'all had issued a new report about some of the future of South Carolina and much of the issues that are really affecting our state.
That's right. Darla is a PD lady.
Yes,
from Lake City.
Lake City native, that's right.
Very successful woman.
Very definitely, very definitely. And the Palmetto Institute is something that was recently set up, I guess.
It was Darla's vision, and she really wanted something that would be a factual base to understand where we are today, and something that could be used by policymakers and other people that are influential in charting a course for the future.
Don, can you tell us a little bit about the Gear Up program?
Sure, that's part of that's a federal grant that the Chamber has an initiative called High Performance Partnerships in its education division. And what the Chamber is doing is linking businesses and schools that are scoring unsatisfactory, and linking them in a very direct way, from involvement with the schools, everything from making sure that the kids have adequate school supplies, providing homework centers, providing mentors. There's a whole variety of activities that businesses can get involved with schools with.
And the state chamber interacts with local and regional chambers?
It's an informal network, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But certainly that we invite the local chambers. For example, we set our legislative agenda through what we call the Grassroots Network. And we work in concert with the local chambers to get input in 8 regional meetings from literally thousands of people that said, what does business really want from our legislators, or on the other hand, what don't we want from our legislators?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You talked about Gear Up a minute ago, a federal grant really helping to improve education throughout the state, and that commitment to education extends for you much more even than your role as chairman of the state chamber. I think you've been instrumental in setting up something here in Florence County that's a pretty rare opportunity, something that, to the best of my knowledge, I hadn't seen any. I'm sure there may have been a model, or you are the model for much of what will happen throughout the rest of the country. Trip Dubard, I think, is coming in a little bit to talk about that. But could you tell real quick, tell the viewers about the School Foundation?
Sure. School Foundation was formed about 2 years ago. It was really, a few of us got together and said, we really need to do something to ensure that our local schools, Florence School District 1 in this case, is more than just adequate, but it really has excellent education. And we realized that the funding is always going to be an issue. So we developed a foundation that would grow over time and provide major impact for the opportunities. It's an endowed foundation, which means that the funds that are given are never used, only the interest. And the grants we give are major grants, the ones that can have an impact, a lasting and sustaining impact on either the children, the teachers, or the school itself.
I'd like to ask you about what Trip Dubard particularly does with the School Foundation, but I'll ask him in a second. One last question I was thinking about is it related to both as an active president and GM of Roche Carolina and now as chairman of the State Chamber. If you weren't president and GM of Roche Carolina, what do you think you'd be doing, Don?
I'd be trying to be president. Being president is a wonderful job, and certainly the contact that I have from that. So manufacturing is my love, so it would be working in a manufacturing environment. It might be a talk show interview person. But
yes, absolutely. We found the next host of Carolina People. Don Harriet, President and General Manager of Roche Carolina, originally a Californian by birth, now a big part of the PD and a sandlapper. Don, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Yep, thanks.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair. We're visiting with Trip Dubard of Dubard Inc. A Trip, as you know, had a particular tie to the School Foundation, which Don Harriet in the last segment was talking about. Trip, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Sure, I'm glad to be here. Nice to see you, Greg.
A great commitment hearing about the School Foundation and all that has been done to help benefit Florence District 1. But can we talk real quick about yourself? Are you a PD area native?
Yeah, my family moved here in '72. My father took over was general manager of the Budweiser operation here for years, and finally bought it and was able to buy it in 1989. So I've been here for a while.
So the company is family owned and operated?
Family owned and operated. He took it over in '89. I graduated from high school, went off, did some other things. Was a journalist actually for a while, and I came back about I guess about 6-7 years ago, and rejoined the family firm, and we've been doing it since then.
Where were you a journalist in particular, if you don't mind me asking?
Primarily South Carolina. I guess my high water mark was I was the Associated Press guy at the State House in Columbia. I covered all the politics and elections, and so that was that was a big deal for me.
Absolutely, that's huge. We'll have to get you on another time to talk about that.
Sure,
That'd be
politics
great.
is fun.
What products in particular does Dubard Inc. provide to the PD area?
We do all the Anheuser-Busch products. So that's Budweiser, Bud Light, Michelob, Mich Light, Michelob Ultra, our new product, low carbs, great thing for those of us old guys out there. Natural Light, malt liquors, King Cobra, Hurricane, 180, got O'Doul's, a non-alcoholic drink that's pretty good. And we cover the PD, 7 counties of the PD: Chesterfield, Marlborough, Marion, Dillon, Florence, Darlington, and Williamsburg counties.
And you're originally from the area? You said you all moved here in 72?
We moved here in 72,
okay.
And so my family's been here since then.
Since we're going to talk about education, about children and education, do you mind if I ask you if you have any children?
Yes, I have 3.
Do you?
Yeah. And as I told someone the other day, they're the smartest future residents of the state penal system. So, I have high hopes for them, to really shine in the state's prisons. I don't know.
I hope your kids will be watching this and enjoy hearing Daddy throw that out, I'm sure.
That'll be fine.
When did you get involved with the School Foundation, Trip?
Well, soon after I moved here, my oldest son was about to enter schools, and I was a product of public schools. I graduated I went to Poynter and then McClinic and then South Florence, and so I was interested when my son started getting of age, and it's about that time that the referendums, failed. These sort of efforts at tax increases or increasing funding for the schools, and it just irritated me, And so the more I looked into it, the more irritated I got. And if you look at some of the data on our district in particular, you see that really it's not very uplifting. In technology, we were one of the lowest spenders in the state, and especially when you look at relative to everything. I got a few charts, and if you look at it, we're always the lowest bar on these sort of key measures of success. Teacher training, we spend far less than the average or the highest district in the state, and on local tax support. Florence area is roughly in the top 25% of its ability to pay, right? We're in the bottom 10% of what we actually pay to support our schools.
You're kidding.
So yeah, so those are the sort of things that just really upset me, and I began thinking, well, gee, if I had extra money, how would I give it to the schools? I just write a check and hand it to them. It just didn't seem right, but my colleges, they never lose you. If you've moved, 2 weeks later, they're on your doorstep banging you for money. So the thought arose, and maybe there should be, could we create a foundation? Is there something that you could do that would work like that? And thank goodness there were people smarter and more advanced in the idea than I was. I talked with Don Harriet about it, and he said, that's a good idea, Tripp. We've already done it. And so he and Grady Greer and some others, I think, had already filed the paperwork. And, I was excited about it. I said, great. And Don came to me and said, hey, would you like to be the fundraiser for it? Never having done it, I didn't know any better. And I said, oh, sure, and so now here I am. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been very, very satisfying.
When the foundation's fully funded, I guess it'll never be fully funded. There'll always be an opportunity. You may not be head of fundraising forever, but it'll primarily benefit, almost exclusively benefit Florence District 1?
Yeah, I don't know how much Don told you, but by our bylaws, nothing happens till we get to $1 million. Once we get $1 million, then the interest that generates will be able to be available to projects. We are only for Florence School District 1. It'd be great if we could help every school in the country, but we had to sort of limit ourselves and put a focus on it. And Florence being sort of the economic center of these counties and the PD, that's where that's where we're focusing our interest.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No.
Well, once you may ask, what kind of projects would we do? Well. We haven't really funded one yet from the fund, but I can tell you the things that our bylaws lay out are academic quality, teacher training, district staff training, security would be good. Probably easier to understand are the things we won't do. We're not going to buy books. We're not going to buy supplies. We're not going to buy. We're not going to pay for the electricity for the school, because those are things taxpayers ought to be paying for.
Absolutely.
What we're about is the extra, the stuff that's going to move to educational excellence. If you look at these charts, if you look at this stuff, and you look at what we spend for admin, administrators always get knocked around on this. But if you actually dig into the figures, you see we pay less on average than the state does. Even though we're the 12th largest district in the state, we're paying less on average. So the way I read the figures is we're paying below average money for about an average education. So you're getting a good deal. What we're trying to do is raise the whole level. And let's go for excellence. I mean, why would you take, who wants your kid to be mediocre? Not me.
Right,
you don't want mediocre kids. You ought to be great. And this is how you do it.
Can I ask real quick, if someone wanted to learn more about the School Foundation, or wanted to get in contact, maybe to donate, how would they get in touch with you?
The School Foundation's number is 843-629-4926. The website, that's the best place to go and learn more about us, www.theschoolfoundation.org. And you should be able to donate online there. If not, it has an address. You can mail in the checks. And if you forget all that stuff, just call me at Budweiser, and I'll take care of you. Right?
Tripp DuBard making a personal commitment, willing to accept calls at Budweiser for the School Foundation. Many years here, a commitment to excellence set since 1972 here in the PD area. The commitment stays right here. Tripp DuBard, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. We want to send a big thanks out to Bob Jones, the Executive Director of the Florence City-County Agricultural Commission, for allowing us to be out here at the Eastern Carolina Agricultural Fair all week, bringing Carolina People to you.